The chamber was quiet in the way that only congressional hearing rooms can be, silent, but heavy. The kind of stillness that comes not from peace, but from calculation. Everyone was watching everyone else, and everyone knew something was about to crack. It had been framed as another routine oversight hearing, another day of political theater. The Judiciary Committee was set to hear arguments on executive privilege, document access, and allegations of obstruction. The witnesses were experienced. The talking points were prepared, and the outcome seemed predetermined. But that was before Pam Bondi walked into the room. She wasn't on the original witness list. Her name hadn't been leaked to the press in advance. No segment producers had prepared graphics with her face. She arrived with no fanfare, wearing a dark suit, carrying only a single folder, and offering no eye contact. The Democratic majority had been confident. Jerry Nadler, the chair, had planned to walk through the morning's hearing with tight control. He would question witnesses, neutralize counterpoints, and wrap by early afternoon. The script was ready. Pam Bondi had other plans. When she took her seat at the witness table, a murmur passed through the back of the room. Not loud, not disruptive, but enough that people noticed. Enough that people realized this wasn't going to be routine. Nadler began with a prepared statement. This committee exists to uphold the rule of law. No one is above that law. Not the president, not his advisors, and certainly not political operatives who attempt to weaponize justice. He didn't look at Bondi when he said it, but he didn't have to. Pam Bondi waited. She let him finish. She let every word settle. And then she spoke, softly at first. Mr. Chairman, I was invited here to provide legal analysis, not to be used as a political prop. Nadler smiled politely. You were invited to speak, and you'll have that opportunity. Bondi didn't blink. I will. But let me be clear. If you think I came here to play along with a narrative, you invited the wrong witness. The room stilled. A few aides stopped taking notes. Nadler sat back in his chair. She opened her folder. One page. That was all. And what she read from it would begin to unravel the confidence that had filled the majority side of the committee. She didn't attack anyone. She didn't raise her voice. She just started reciting, precisely, methodically, a timeline. A timeline of internal DOJ communications, subpoena decisions, selective leaks, and procedural deviations. Each sentence built on the one before it. Each sentence forced someone in that room to stop nodding. And then, the twist. She paused, looked directly at Nadler. You've told the public this is about the rule of law, but your own staff advised the department not to comply with subpoenas unless certain redactions were made first. Nadler's eyes flickered. Bondi continued. You claim obstruction, yet your own team requested delays on document production that you later used as evidence of noncompliance. There was no yelling, no crosstalk, just slow erosion. Bondi was not grandstanding. She was documenting. And then she said the line that would change everything. Either the process matters, or the outcome does. But when you rig the process to get the outcome, that's not justice. That's strategy. And the American people are starting to notice. Now, before we witness what happens next, and I promise you, you've never seen anything like this in a congressional hearing, I need to share something crucial with you. The mainstream media will try to bury this footage. They'll edit it, spin it, pretend it never happened. But we're here exposing the truth they're desperate to hide. If you believe in seeing the real story, not their sanitized version, you need to subscribe right now. Hit that button before they pressure us to take this down. Join thousands of truth seekers who refuse to be manipulated. Subscribe now and be part of the movement that demands honesty. Trust me, what Pam does next will show you exactly why they want this buried. Nadler interrupted, but the tone had shifted. Ms. Bondi, this committee sets the structure of the hearing. You are here to respond, not to cross-examine. Bondi looked at him calmly. I'm here under oath. If truth makes you uncomfortable, change the facts, not the speaker. A Republican member coughed to hide a smile. A Democrat glanced toward staff. And somewhere in the back, someone began recording on their phone. Nadler tried to recover. He leaned into formality. Let the record reflect that the witness is grandstanding. Pam cut in. No. Let the record reflect that I answered the question you were too careful to ask. That sentence, dry, neutral, delivered without heat, cracked the script. The next 10 minutes unraveled fast. Members began speaking over one another. Staffers whispered urgently. The hearing that had begun with certainty now teetered on something else. Not chaos, not drama, doubt. And once doubt enters the room never fully belongs to the majority again. The hearing had lost its rhythm. What started as a structured partisan procedure was now unsettled, and everyone in the room felt it. The chairman wasn't commanding anymore. The staffers weren't in sync. Even the Democrats who had shown up with prepared speeches were no longer reading from them word for word, because Pam Bondi had done something far more dangerous than yell or accuse. She made them look unsure. For a committee built on control, that was fatal. Nadler tapped his pen twice on the table. A silent signal to staff behind him. A prepared memo, something they had written days ago in case the hearing got too hot, was passed forward. But Pam had already anticipated it. Before he could read a word of it aloud, she spoke again. I'm aware of the April 3rd memo from your legal staff. I've included it here, unredacted, in the appendix, including the section where they recommend selective release of documents to shape the public narrative. Nadler didn't even look at it. He stared at her, tight-jawed. Pam didn't blink. You said no one is above the law. That includes the people who write the press releases about the law. A few rows behind her, a former DOJ analyst who'd been asked to observe the hearing scribbled something in a notebook. Later, he would post online. She didn't break the committee. She made it look like it broke itself. And that was exactly the point. Pam Bondi wasn't accusing them of a crime. She was showing them they no longer controlled the story. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee tried to intervene next. Ms. Bondi, you are misunderstanding the purpose of this committee. We are here to investigate obstruction, not to be interrogated by outside counsel. Pam turned to face her with practiced stillness. Then perhaps you should stop obstructing your own credibility. That line landed harder than anything else so far. Not because it was sharp, but because it was surgical. No inflection, no escalation, just undeniable. Jackson Lee tried to continue, but another member leaned over and passed her a note. She stopped talking. Pam let the silence sit. Then she said, "The truth has no volume. It doesn't have to shout. It just waits until the noise dies down. And then it remains." Now, what happens next is exactly why the mainstream media doesn't want you to see this. They'll try to bury it, edit it, pretend it was less explosive than it was. But we're showing you the unfiltered truth. If you believe in seeing what really happens when public trust breaks down in real time, if you want the raw footage they desperately try to hide, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait. Do it now before they pressure us to take this down. Join thousands who refuse to accept their sanitized version. Subscribe and be part of the truth movement. Now watch what made the committee scramble behind closed doors. Because after that moment, three things happened almost simultaneously. First, Nadler abruptly called a recess, something rarely done mid-testimony without cause. Second, a staffer on the Democratic side accidentally left a printed memo on the table in front of their seat. A Republican member picked it up. One line stood out. If Bondi turns the hearing, pivot to procedural tone, not substance. Third, C-SPAN's live feed hit over 1 million concurrent viewers for the first time in over a year. Outside the chamber, phones were buzzing nonstop. Reporters were texting sources. Headlines were being drafted faster than fact-checkers could keep up. Inside, members huddled in corners. The usual smiles had vanished. The usual certainty gone. 15 minutes later, the hearing resumed. But it wasn't the same room. Pam sat motionless, as if she hadn't moved since the break. Nadler re-entered with a different stack of papers. His tone was cooler now, less rhetorical. He tried one more time. Ms. Bondi, do you believe the president is above accountability? She didn't flinch. I believe accountability is earned by the people demanding it. When process is fair, outcomes matter. When process is weaponized, no outcome has legitimacy. Nadler pressed. So you're saying our process is illegitimate? Pam looked at him. I'm saying you want the appearance of accountability, but you're afraid of transparency. That was the moment it flipped. Because even members of the committee who disagreed with Pam ideologically couldn't deny what she had done. She had dismantled the moral frame without raising her voice. She had exposed the difference between process and performance. And worse, she had made the viewers at home feel it. By the end of the session, scheduled questions from majority members were withdrawn. 2 statements were revised in real time. And one member, off mic, muttered to a colleague, "She just handed the Republicans the narrative for the next month." Pam Bondi closed her folder. She stood. She didn't smile. She didn't thank the committee. She simply said, "I hope next time you want to fight, you don't disguise it as a hearing." Then she walked out, slowly, deliberately, without turning back. The hearing resumed, but the atmosphere had irrevocably changed. The once confident majority now appeared unsettled, their earlier composure replaced by a palpable tension. Pam Bondi remained composed, her demeanor unaltered, yet her presence now commanded the room in a way that was impossible to ignore. Chairman Nadler attempted to regain control, but his words lacked their previous authority. He addressed Bondi with a measured tone, seeking to re-establish the committee's dominance. "Ms. Bondi, we appreciate your testimony," he began. "However, we must adhere to the established protocols of this committee." Bondi responded calmly. "Chairman, I respect the committee's procedures. My intention is to provide clarity and uphold the integrity of this process." The exchange was civil, yet the underlying dynamics had shifted. Bondi's earlier revelations had introduced a level of scrutiny that the committee was unprepared for. As the hearing progressed, Bondi continued to present her findings with precision. She highlighted discrepancies in the committee's procedures, pointing out instances where standard protocols were bypassed. "Transparency is not optional," she stated. "It's a fundamental requirement for public trust." Now, before we delve into the final moments of this pivotal hearing, consider this. The mainstream media often filters such proceedings, presenting a curated version of events. If you value unfiltered, comprehensive coverage of governmental processes, subscribe now. Stay informed and be part of a community that seeks the full story. The hearing concluded with a sense of unresolved tension. While no immediate decisions were made, the impact of Bondi's testimony was undeniable. Committee members appeared contemplative, their earlier confidence tempered by the day's revelations. Politico.com. +1. APnews.com. +1. In the days that followed, discussions about the hearing permeated political discourse. Analysts and commentators debated the implications of Bondi's statements, acknowledging the need for greater transparency and adherence to protocol within congressional committees. Pam Bondi's appearance before the committee served as a reminder of the importance of accountability and the role of individuals in upholding democratic principles. Her composed yet assertive approach challenged the status quo, prompting a re-evaluation of established procedures and the necessity for transparency in governance.